Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Compass for Kindness. I'm John McKenna, and
Adam Krutinger.
we are your hosts for this edition, and we have a very exciting edition for you today. Today, we have a very special guest, Dr. James Newton. He's the principal and I guess you call him the CEO of Bishop-Timon High School here in Western New York. And he's here today to really talk about what I'd call the big turnaround. Timon, when he took over, so he's been there for 6 years, and he's going to talk about the condition the school was in when he took over, and it was in some pretty dire straits. And Dr. Newton's going to talk about the journey that he's gone on over these last 6 years to take Timon from where it was to where it is now, really thriving and really clicking on all cylinders. And that doesn't happen by accident. So, and we got to remember the name of our show is Compass for Kindness. And Dr. Newton is going to tell us how kindness, positivity, empathy, and caring played a very big part in this turnaround. So, Dr. Newton, tell us about the Timon turnaround.
Very good. So in 2017, I retired after 32 years in public education. I was superintendent in the city of Tonawanda when I retired. But then I was an interim principal for 6 months at Frontier High School. But then I got a call that Bishop-Timon was looking for a principal, so I applied for that, and I got that position. And the nice thing about it is that it is in South Buffalo. I grew up in South Buffalo in Seneca Babcock, so my view from my office is McKinley Parkway, which is beautiful. But so this is my 6th year, and my main focus is really a positive school climate. So we have the Ulvaeus Bullying Prevention Program, and I'm a trainer for that. And I also bring in Dr. Kruger, who was from Orchard Park. Now she's a superintendent, I believe, in Newfane. So she would come in and help me. But so we have students on this positive school climate committee, and they come up with ideas of what we can do to just make our students feel comfortable. We are getting more and more diverse, so we want to make sure that all of our students are comfortable at Bishop-Timon. So we focus first on a positive school climate. You have to have a positive school climate. And then the academics come next. So we have some exciting programs with academics. We did recently, this is our first year where we did away with the Regents exam. Private schools do not have to offer the Regents exam. So we're making our curriculum much better for the students. And our extracurricular activities, our athletics are amazing. So we really focus on bullying prevention, a positive school climate, and then academics, and then extracurricular activities.
Can I ask you about the positive school climate? What, that's, again, I agree with what you're saying. That's an easy thing to say, but what does that look like? Because I could imagine creating a positive school climate is obviously very determined on the current school climate and would be very different, building to building and especially district to district.
Right. When I was in Tonawanda, we had what was called TRAK, Tonawanda Random Acts of Kindness, TRAK, T-R-A-K. And Mr. Badgley was my assistant principal at the time. We would work on that. So Timon is T, so we have TRAK again, Timon Random Acts of Kindness. So what we do is we give the teachers a slip that if they see someone doing something good, they fill out that Timon Random Acts of Kindness. And then at the end of the month, we have a raffle. And we have a very popular pizza place around here called Imperial Pizza. So we give gift cards for pizza, that type of thing. But when we see students doing something good and we encourage that, that's when we fill out the Timon Random Act of Kindness card. And then we have that drawing. And we also like to put positive quotes on our monitors that we have around the school, just to promote that climate. And when I have pep rallies, I really get into it, and I focus on positive school climate. So when I was in Tonawanda, when we had pep rallies, I would paint my face. I paint my face still for Timon. And the students really love it. They really get going. So I think just being around in the building, because that was always just being around in the building, walking around, that was always the most important thing to me, not just being in the office all the time. So I think that's good because then I hear what students are saying. I like to do cafeteria duty just to see what students are doing, what they're saying, to hopefully provide a positive school climate.
Dr. Newton, I think that is fantastic. And I love that you're doing TRAK, and especially with the high school kids. we worked together in Tonawanda, and you were a high school principal, and I was an elementary principal. And sometimes people think that programs like track are just for elementary students, and they make a big mistake because kindness it should be for all ages. And one of the things that I saw that you did by implementing those programs at the high school level is you see, you know what? High school kids are craving kindness too. And they want kind environment. They want a positive environment. And you know what? It needs a leader to get those types of activities starting and to believe that high school kids do want kindness. And you've brought it to life. And to see kindness be, something that's valued on a day-to-day basis and then highlighted and made a showcase in the school, that's the big thing. That's what creates climate and culture. So it makes me so happy when I see high schools embracing that philosophy, because that makes a big difference in the lives of kids. And especially today too, think of our kids that are going through a lot of social emotional issues. And, one random act of kindness, coming up to someone and being kind and caring, can make a big difference in that student's life.
Sure. And I found that my dissertation focused on nonverbal interventions. And so I came up with hand signs, actually sign language, that I show the students what it means. So, for example, walk. I don't have to say anything, but when I see a student running in the hall, I just do this, and they know what it means. Stop. Things like that.
That's great.
Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. Disperse. So things like that. Those signs, nonverbal communication is huge, because a lot of times it de-escalates situations. I do my best to make sure teachers are never screaming at the students. There are some teachers who can lose their emotional control. So I try to have them focus on nonverbal communication. In my opinion, that's so important. Because
that is such a great idea, because when you have a group of kids, to an extent, you have to raise your voice and just to literally be heard. But to a lot of people, that's taken in a negative connotation. And for a little background too, I used to work at St. Mary's School for the Deaf, so I taught using sign language for a while, which was a very interesting experience too. But another thing that you would mention, and I really love that, is, you talk about the bully prevention, and then you talk about implementing kindness. And that's one thing, because I work in Orchard Park, and we did the Olveus for a long time. I think we still technically have it, with Lisa. But and I think it's a great program, and I don't want to sound like I'm putting it down in any way. But one thing that I was always weary on with it is that I like the idea of promoting kindness more than deterring bullying. And because literally, when I went for my DASA training, they literally told us that, you should never use the word bully because you're labeling kids. And especially in the world we live in now, where labels are so important for people for plethora of things, from politics to, goes on, for health, all kinds of things, that, calling someone a bully in a way could potentially make them feel worse about themselves in a depression kind of way, and or give them something to look up to. Well, if everyone's going to call me a bully anyway, I may as well be the best bully I can. So I love that idea of promoting kindness.
Yes, absolutely. So when you were at St. Mary's School for the Deaf, was Tim Kelly there?
I believe he was just heading out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He was the superintendent there, and he's a Timon graduate. He's on my board.
Oh, is he really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd remember me because, again, I was just, in the beginning, I was not substitute. I was substituting, but I also student taught there too. But I did meet him many times. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
But Adam, I agree with you that you don't want to use the word bullying or bully, calling somebody a bully. That's why you really want to focus on that positive school climate, and the Time and Random Acts of Kindness does that.
I think that's awesome. Another thing, Jim, that I want to mention that I think is so powerful, that, having known you and worked with you, that I think is so important, is you take the time to get to know your students individually. And for example, I know when we worked together in Tonawanda, you knew every student by name and you knew their background. So when you talked to them, you knew their interests, you knew their family, you knew that they were soccer players or liked art. You knew so much about them. And I think of times when we would sit outside and we would see the students when they would leave, and I'd like to hope to be the same, that we took great pride in getting to know each of our students by their name. and talk a little bit about the importance of getting to know your students as individuals.
Yeah, the connection is so important. That's why I like to be in the halls. I like to be in the cafeteria, just to really get to know the students. And you're right, I probably know all my students' names, and so I think that's important. But I remember us, John, standing on the corner at Fletcher and Hines. He would come out every once in a while, and we'd wave at dismissal time and have conversations. But I do the same thing now at Bishop-Timon. I'm out there at the end of the day, greeting the students, saying, have a great day, have a great rest of the day, that type of thing. So I think that's important because also the parents see you when you're outside like that, and I think they appreciate it. I think they feel that the school is safe when they see the principal outside greeting the students as they're leaving and smiling. The students are laughing, so I think that's important for even parents to see. I think the parents feel more comfortable too.
I agree. And I think it sets the whole tone when kids come in the morning and you're out there and you're positive, you're greeting them, you're shaking their hand, you're talking to them. And some of them would even proactively come up and talk to you about things they
Oh
might be
yeah,
going through. And you get to learn a lot about the kids that way. And even parents. I know a lot of parents they'd drop their kids off. They'd say, "Can I have a minute?" They'd pull out, and you sometimes you'd have your head in the car and you might learn something about that family that's going on that's very important to the life of that child. And so that
absolutely.
those individual connections and being visible in a meaningful way is something that you
Yeah.
really exemplified.
And one thing I'll add on too is you've also done that with the staff and the teachers. Like I had never had a superintendent just like walk through my art class, and you had done that multiple times, and you knew my name. Not to say that my current superintendents didn't know my name, and I know they get around. It's a big district. But like I was really kind of thrown back at first, not only that you had done it, but how many times you had done it, especially considering I was a part-time art teacher in one building, and I had seen you so multiple times, and you knew me by name and had a good idea of what I was up to and doing. It's
Well, just by
impressive.
management, by walking around is so important. And I like to have my faculty conversations in the hallway or in the classroom, that type of thing, instead of having them come to my office where they might sit down and take 25 minutes of my time, which I wouldn't mind, but I'd rather have a few-minute conversation and then go to another classroom, that type of thing. I think that's important, and I do think the faculty appreciate that.
I agree, Jim, because you're going onto their turf and they feel much more comfortable. When students have to go to the principal's office, it changes things. And when staff have to go to the principal's office,
I
it
was
changes
just
things.
going to say that, yeah.
And
That intimidation of going to the principal's office does not change too much once you're a teacher, too. It's just baked into you from being a kid, I think.
it's so true. So that idea of going out and being and not just it's there's visibility and then there's visibility with a purpose. And you would always do it with a purpose where you're having meaningful dialogue and discussions. And not only about the teaching, learning and things that are going on, but you get to know the people individually and their families. I know that you get to know that, maybe someone's child is sick and they have to go home early that day. Or, if there's things going on that, you get to know them. And when they know, it's an old saying that it's a saying that I know but you say it you used to say this a lot too. Nobody cares what you know till they know that you care. And there's no doubt when you work with Dr. Newton, people know that you care.
It's funny that you said that because I do have a sign right above me. I'm looking at it right now. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I have it right there. So it's
I
funny that
remember
you
you used to say that all the time, and it always made a mark with me because isn't that the truth? Actions speak louder than words.
sure.
And your
Yes.
actions and the relationships that you built with folks in your everyday interactions, I have no doubt, are a big part of the time and turnaround.
Well, Dr. McKenna, as you know, situational awareness, we would talk about that all the time. And you really have to get to know your community, get to know the parents, get to know the students, of course, the staff. So that's situational awareness, making sure that you have that. And I think when you do that, then you get the support of everyone. So that helps a great deal.
So tell us a little bit about, I mean, when you first got there, What was the enrollment? I know it was very low, and I know the school was really on the brink of closure. So when you first got there, how many students were there? How many students do you have coming in now? And tell us, what do you think were some of the main catalysts for the turnaround?
So when I started 6 years ago, we had 162 students. And when I would go to an athletic event, some of the chants were, your school is closing, your school is closing. So, but now we're close to 300 students. And next year we will be over 300 students. So the great thing is that the students love Bishop-Timon. They love being there. The students, in my opinion, are recruiters. They're the ones who are getting the other students to come in. They tell their friends. So we have students from all over. We have a couple students from the city of Tonawanda, from North Tonawanda. Our goalie is from North Tonawanda. So they drive. They drive.
Can I interject one thing, just because I think that, the other school chanting, your school's gonna close, is it's kind of almost cheeky, funny thing to kind of say in this kind of casual thing, but from a framing of kindness with your current students, like, that's got to have some sort of an impact on them, and them understanding, seeing, the shrinking numbers, that this could actually be a possibility. Like, how do you, turn the mindset for them? Like, we're going to change this. This is my plan. This is what we're going to do. We already are setting things in motion, but we need your help too. I don't know if any of that framing is correct, but I can imagine being in a school that's dwindling and being like, we got to start looking at other options.
Right,
and other
right.
schools had closed.
Yes. Yeah, the one in Niagara Falls closed. My first year that I started, Niagara Catholic, I think it was, they closed. So, yes, there are other schools that have closed. So we're fortunate. We're on the rise. I think we're one of the only private schools that have an increase in enrollment instead of declining enrollment.
And not just an increase, doubling the enrollment,
Yes.
Jim. I mean, that to me that's what's so impressive. It's not in the norm of what's happening in other places. You're defying the odds right now.
Right.
And you don't defy the odds by accident. Success is never accidental. When you have that kind of success, it doesn't happen, because of luck. Yeah, there's always nice to have luck, but that type of sustained success and that magnitude of success is because of things that you've done. So maybe
what was the biggest catalyst for the change? Was it mindset? Was it programming? Was it staffing? Obviously, it's a little bit of all, but what was your first initiative, would you say?
I don't know. I think word just gets around that because of our positive school climate, that it's a safe place to be. So we're in Buffalo, right in the city, South Buffalo. We closed all this week because of the snow. We didn't have one day in. So they have about 5-6 feet of snow in South Buffalo. But I think that just that positive school climate, and then the students go home and they tell their friends about the climate, the academics. I think those are the things that got our enrollment to grow. And then, of course, the sports program is amazing. It wasn't when I started. But now we're really doing well. So I think that's promoting students to come here. So to change that mindset, I think was the positive school climate, having students go home and say how great they love, how much they love Timon. And then
how would you define what you just said specifically, a safe place to be? Because I feel like I know what that means, but I feel like that could mean something very specific to you and or your students and the families in the district. What do you think that means to them when they say that, or if they hear you say this?
So fortunately, we have very little bullying going on. And I think that's because we do focus on the positive school climate. And the students, they just love being there. So I think that's so important for the school and for the parents. So I know an assistant principal in the South Buffalo school, and she sent her students to Timon because it was safe. She works in a high school in Buffalo, and she told me that there were 3 fights a day. Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have fighting. If we do, we treat it very seriously, of course. And if need be, I can also remove a student from the school if they're really bad. But the nice thing about it is the parents are paying tuition. They're paying, it's $10,000 to go to Bishop-Timon. We're actually the lowest of all the private schools, but they're making a commitment there. So I think students also recognize the fact that the parents are paying. So I think that helps too in reference to behavior.
It's an investment.
Yes.
Yeah, they're invested.
I also know that you've definitely created the positive climate, but you've done a lot of curriculum things there too. And I know that, for example, I know you've got an esports program, you've got a drone program that's going there. You've done some really innovative programming. Why don't you talk about some of the really cool programmatic types of things you've put in there?
So the nice thing about us growing is our donors are coming back. So they're giving money. So, for example, the esports room costs over $100,000. One person donated that money to go. The same with the drone curriculum. So a few individuals donated, and that's how we have that. We're a private school, so we don't have that much funding, like a public school does. So we do have our title grants that help, but we have our drone program, and our goal for that is for the students to get their FAA commercial license. So when they leave high school, they're employable. They can get a great job paying well as a drone pilot. So I think that's exciting. That we have that, and our esports program with the Minecraft that we have, the students are building different things. We have competitions with that. We also, in the esports, they're doing the stock market challenge.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, they're all doing all different things. With the esports, all the students take that. It's a class. It's not just a club after school. It is a club after school, but we have to have a sign-up sheet because all the kids want to go into the club.
And I just want to point out, too, because I can imagine some people listening to this saying, esports, drones, like this seems more like play and distracting. But I'm telling you, you are on the right path. This is the future of education. I've said it for years that we're training kids for jobs that don't exist yet. But now we're starting to get a little bit more clear of an idea of what that is, although it's subject to change as well. But I guess just a quick question I'd have on some of these things. The drone class, is that part of the technology department? And like esports, that's not part of phys ed. Is that in technology or phys ed and just from a sports aspect? Or how is that all like categorized?
Yeah, we consider both of them as more of a STEM program. So we have an engineering teacher. So he teaches the drone curriculum. And then I was fortunate to, Damon College had an esports program. So I emailed the person who's the head of that, and I said, do you know anyone that would be interested in teaching at Bishop-Timon esports? And he sent me this guy's resume, and this teacher is amazing. He's not a certified teacher, but he's an amazing teacher. So I was fortunate. And the nice thing about it, so this is interesting. So his name is Francis Cassina, and we have football games, and we have the student section. And the chant from our student section was, "Oh, Francis Cassina." And that was his first month at our school. So he already made a connection with the students. That was the chant for kickoff. "Oh, Francis Cassina." So it was amazing that was his first month at the school, and they already have that rapport.
People make the difference, don't they? It's the
they
people
do.
and the connections that they make. It makes all the difference. You can have a curriculum. If the people don't make the connection with the kids, it doesn't make any. But boy, when you got a good curriculum and a good program and a good person to deliver it, wow, it's magic.
Yeah, Dr. McKenna, as you know, people not programmed. And Todd Whitaker is actually coming up to speak with the Western New York Education Service Council in March, I believe. I'm going to go and see him again.
I'm going to have to go. I'll have to see if I can go and join you there because we are big believers in it's people, not programs, and it's helped change our philosophy with what we do and how we do it. And I'm interested too in the athletic programs there because they've really taken off. And have you done what's been the big thing to get athletes to come, or is it just success has made people want to come to the school because they're really, I mean, think about that basketball team and that football team. My goodness, they're just doing fantastic.
Yeah, when I started in 2018, the football team had 22 players. We have 60 this year, 60 players on the team. So now we have a JV and a varsity team. We're hoping to have a freshman team next year, freshman, JV, and varsity. So we won the championship 2 years in a row in football. In basketball, we're just amazing. So basketball, we won the Manhattan Cup for the first time since 2001. So that was, and so we ended up going to Fordham in the Bronx, and we played for the championship there. We didn't win there, but we did beat Canisius just to get to that point. And I'm hoping that we can end up there again. Our record is 10-0, and we're doing great. One of the players that we have is a senior now, but he might break the record for the most points ever in public and private schools in Western New York. So it's possible that he could do that this year. He has to do it this year. He's going to do it because he's a senior. But we're 10-0 right now. We're hoping to be the Manhattan Cup champions again. And we our golf team won. They were number one. Hockey is doing well. All of our sports are just doing well. And because we're doing well, it brings more students in. So I think that's helping a great deal. Our head coach for basketball, Jason Rowe, he played 15 years professional basketball in Europe. So fortunately, we're getting the right people on board too.
No, it's awesome because every time you turn on the news now in the sports, you see Timon is just doing fantastic. And you go back like 6 years ago, think about it. They're cheering, your school is closing, and they couldn't hardly win games. And now all your sport teams are some of the best in Western New York. They're winning championships. Kids are getting scholarships. It's, again, those things don't happen by accident. There's a lot of good, hard work that goes into cultivating that type of success. And you said it too, getting the right people on board is so key and so important. And you've done a great job of getting the right people, but I know what you look for. You look for people. You look for relationship builders. And that's one of the things that, having worked with you for many years, I know the staff that you would bring when we worked in Tonawanda together. We talked about it. Some of the main things we wanted to see was what are in people's hearts? What do they believe in? What's their purpose? And we wanted to make sure that we were always hiring people that really, first and foremost, care deeply about students. Sure.
It's so important. And even with our time in basketball, we're number one in New York State right now. And it is the people, that make that happen. So I think that's extremely important.
No, I agree. You've been such an inspiration to so many people. And who's inspired you? Like, how is there anyone along the way that made you say, wow, I want to be like that person, and it motivated you and inspired you to be this person that you are today?
Well, I wish I could rollerblade like you, John, because you inspired me, definitely. But honestly, so I went to a Buffalo public school, and my high school teacher was the one that inspired me the most. He brought about 10 of us to Buffalo State College, showed us how to fill out the application, what to go through. And then I would see him as I was going through college. I would go and see him, and he would inspire me so much to keep me going. So he was probably my number one influence, my high school teacher. That's why teachers are so important. And I think he's 80 something years old, but I still talk to him. We send each other Christmas cards. But because of him, in my opinion, that's why I am here and what I'm doing right now. He's the one who got me into going for teaching.
Wow, and you still stay connected to him today.
Yeah.
That just shows you the power of personal connections.
Right. And my father too. So he inspired me. So I was a football player in high school and in college, and I was a punt snapper. And he would be in the driveway with me, making sure that my snaps were good, because that's a very important position. So he's another one who inspired me.
So I didn't know you were a long snapper.
Yes.
Wow.
There's
a skill.
I just wish I kept at it, because now NFL teams, they hire just a long snapper.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. That's a really hard skill. So
especially
Boy,
when it's
I
raining.
always learn something new about you every time we talk, Jim. Oh my goodness. I know we got to go soon. I just wanted to mention one more thing. I know there's capital projects and things that you've done at the school. You mentioned, I know, the esports room, but I know that recently you told me that Russell Salvatore visited your school, and there's going to be a new exciting project that's going to be happening there at the building. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so we have a speaker series where we bring in people usually every 3 months. So we had Byron Brown come in. We had the police chief, Grimalia. He's a Bishop-Timon graduate. He came in. Steve Tasker, Scott Beeler from West Her, Richard Barnes, Silly Dalton Barnes, remember that? Steve Barnes, they're all graduates of Timon. But Russell Salvatore was one of our speakers. And after he got done speaking, we brought him to our cafeteria because we knew he liked to renovate cafeterias because he did Villa Maria College and a few others. So he looked at the cafeteria. The next day, his architects were there. And he has given us $300,000. It'll be done by next school year. And another donor gave us $200,000. So $500,000 is going into our cafeteria because of Russell Salvatore and another donor. So it's pretty amazing because he had no connection really to Bishop-Timon. We just brought him in to speak. So I think it's great that he was willing to do that. And we have other donors who, all of our classrooms were renovated this year. We had terrible carpeting on the floors and they were disgusting. Now all the classrooms are renovated, painted, new blinds, everything from a donor. So that's another one. The Athletic Fitness Center just opened. So we had a big ribbon cutting ceremony, and we have 2 big donors for that. So that was another, I forget, it was close to $1 million to get done. It was sitting there for about 9 years vacant, just a shell. And it's finally done because the donors are coming back. They see that we're staying open, and I think that's why they're coming back.
What an inspirational story. All of these wonderful things that are happening. And to think 6 years ago, this school was on the brink of closing. And now look at it. It is thriving and truly, hitting on all cylinders. And I just got to say, I even think about the speaker series that you put together. Look at that's another great program that you put together, and you bring the right people in, you make the right connections, and the next thing you know, you're getting a new cafeteria.
That's right.
It's just pretty amazing.
That's amazing. And and this all brings me to a question too, that I just love all your drive for improving the school, making a great community, developing these students with future skills. And I guess I just want to know what drives you really from the standpoint of you were working in the public system, you retired from the public system, you could have just been in Florida with your feet up playing golf, but you decided to, again, take this massive challenge. Not that it probably would have been a risk necessarily on you personally, but like, what an undertaking. I think most people would look at that and be like, do you want to inherit this headache? Or obviously you see it as a challenge you're willing to accept. Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to go to private education, and actually maybe a little bit of the difference in benefits, either from a curricular standpoint and an administrative standpoint? Because I imagine you have a little more control, maybe not, of what choices you can make when it's private.
Yeah, I mean, this is my passion. I could never just be retired and lay on the beach or whatever and, do nothing. I have to be busy. So I love what I do. In my opinion, it's not work for me. So I love what I do. I have that passion. And I think the students see that. They know that I want to be there. Right now, I'll give you my age. I'm 61. And if they want me till I'm 70, I'm going to stay till I'm 70, so because I love it so much. So, I rarely do I ever have to raise my voice or anything like that. The students are extremely respectful. So I think this is what I needed to do. This was a calling.
Well, let me tell you something, Jim. You look great. You have more vitality than anybody I know. And you'll probably still be working there when you're 80. You know what I mean? Maybe even 90, the way you're going. I mean,
I'm jealous of both of your energy. I'm 35.
Well, You are an inspiration, Dr. Newton, without a doubt. And what you've done at that school is really, it's incredible. And what a success story. And it's inspirational to all, I guess educational leaders out there, but anyone who needs to turn around an organization. It's not easy. And you were handed a really tough situation, and you really turned it around. And the key, and we talked about at the beginning, was relationship building, kindness, caring, empathy, and putting people first. And I think would you agree? That's the foundation for success.
Absolutely. That's why, when I started talking to you, that positive school climate is just so important. And I really focus on that. My goal is to make sure that all of our students are comfortable at Bishop-Timon. And we'll do whatever we can to make that happen.
Well, Jim, we wanted to give about 30 minutes. I know we're well past that now. We want to thank you very much for all your time today. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to, share with us at this time before we close the interview off today?
No, I just want to say that it's exciting for me that, growing up in Seneca, Babcock, South Buffalo, we were poor. We didn't have much. And to be able to work at Bishop-Timon and to make this turnaround, we're going to have more than 300 students next year. And we're just going to keep growing. So it just makes me feel good that coming from a neighborhood that, we struggled with poverty, growing up, but just making that difference and making sure that all the students are comfortable there, that's so important to me. And I love where I came from. I love where I grew up, even though, we didn't have much.
What's the best way for people to follow your work and or find more out about Buffalo-Timon? Is there websites or somewhere we can point people who are maybe curious about it?
Yeah, so we have www.bishoptimon.com. That's our website. And then we also have our Instagram, Bishop-Timon, Facebook, Bishop-Timon. So yeah, we're definitely out there making it public.
Yeah, so if you want to see some drone videos and some esports, hopefully some of that's featured in their social media. Check it out. Sounds like they're doing some pretty incredible things there. So I definitely would recommend people check out those sites.
One thing too that I always look for, Timon's always on the news now, especially with the sport teams. And I'm telling everyone out here who's listening to the podcast and watching, if you see the news stories and you look, you'll always see Dr. Newton on the sidelines. He's always right there with the teams, and he's cheering them on. And every time I see a Timon clip on TV, I look and I always tell my wife, "Look, there's Jim. He's right there in this." And you're cheering, and your energy is so evident, and everybody sees it, and it's contagious.
Are you ever in the mascot costume?
No, but I do have students that dress up as a tiger.
That's great.
Well, thank you for sharing your time with us here today, Jim, and thank you for the wonderful work that you have done. Again, the show that we're doing is Compass for Kindness. You are someone who really shows a true north. You are the true north for kindness, and if everyone has a compass and follows your direction, they're going to end in a great place. So thank you, Jim, for all your hard work and for all your inspiration. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. McKenna and Mr. Krutinger. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Bye, Jim.
Bye now.
Thanks a lot.